Statement 14, chapter 2. So that's the statement that says, you should practice all stages of the path in each of the sessions of practice that you do. So don't, so the broader implications of this is, Khyalpa Rinpoche's style is not so similar to those who teach, and say, okay, first you start with the Hinayana foundation. So do lots and lots of Hinayana foundation stuff first. Then a few years later, okay, now, you graduate into the Mahayana things. And a few days later, okay, now you graduate into the Vajrayana things. I mean, there's a certain advantage for sure, I think, to go that route. So, for example, in the West here, I don't know about these days, but it used to be like if you're practicing in the Shambhala system, they will have you go through these stages, after how many hours of having done how many practices, then, then you go to the next level. And so there's all these levels. Khyalpa Rinpoche's approach, well, first of all, Khyalpa Rinpoche's approach isn't, about, training people in a broad network, spread all over the world, you still remember that, you have to remember that in his context, people came to him from all over for the most part. He did travel a little bit himself, but mostly, I think in the past, the idea is that the students come to the teacher. But now, we're like, oh, well, it's cheaper if we have the teacher come to the students. Well, I guess it's true, but will it work as well? I don't know. So in the past, people came to the teacher rather than the teacher going around and putting up flyers and say, I'm in town, please come, please come, please come. It's like the degenerate age. I still remember, like an older generation of Tibetan teachers, they think it's just crazy, like in the West or other places, and people tell them, well, we have to publicize, your visit or your program. They're like, what? You have to like spend money telling people I'm here? Then forget it, some of them even say, then forget it, Then the karma is not there. Don't force it, Anyway, his emphasis is, yes, I think, to be fair, people are still at different levels, So for Khyalpa Rinpoche, again, I think all these levels, he sees it that you can talk about levels in terms of the levels of the technique or the method, or the levels in terms of the mind, of the level of the person using the techniques. Instead of emphasizing figuring out exactly which technique to use, right? He's saying more, no matter which technique is used, the mind needs to be changed. The mind needs to be transformed. And that if there are levels, it's the levels in the development of the mind, of the heart. Insofar as the teachings and the practices, they're all equally powerful, equally profound, equally important. Yeah. And so again, this emphasis on not give yourself the burden of, oh, which is better? Oh, which is better? Oh, this is better. Oh, that is better. Especially now we're exposed to so many possible. If you have the discipline to just stay focused on Tibetan Buddhism, even that, you're like, wow, there's this practice, there's that practice, there's this deity, that deity, there's this terma and that terma, there's this lineage and that lineage, this sublineage, this, that. Then beyond Tibetan Buddhism, oh, well, maybe Zen, oh, well, maybe Vipassana, oh, well, the Vipassana from Burma, Vipassana from Thailand, Vipassana from Sri Lanka, And then beyond Buddhist, oh, well, there's also a Sufi retreat going on, and there's a sweat lodge next weekend, right? So there's so many possibilities, If our attitude is still, that, oh, there's some sort of technique and method out there that is meant for me. That's a burden. Instead, with regards to the Buddhist practices and teachings, see all of them as part and parcel of the 84,000 dharmas that come together as this all stages of the path, or all elements of the path. So then fold everything in. Again, this statement maybe don't need to take so literally, like one session, you need to have everything. Then some of you, I know some of you, have that kind of personality. You'll be like, did I get all the sessions? I mean, did I get all the elements? What elements is missing? You get very, because you want to perform well. That's not the state of mind that is being encouraged here. It's emphasizing a holistic approach, an approach that always integrates everything. So under the notes, the Rinjangma gives the example of the contention of some that through contemplation of death and impermanence for up to 12 years, the mind is made firm. Well, of course, but Jiten Sumgun maintains that it would be meaningless if one had practiced only the thoughts of death and impermanence and died when one was about to enter the higher paths. Instead, one practices all stages of the path in each single session. Moreover, the Rinjangma refers in this context to a teaching by Jayuwa Shonu, one of Gampopa's Kadampa teachers. Jayuwa Shonu O, according to which it is necessary to contemplate death and impermanence in each first session. Jayuwa said, if you forget to practice death and impermanence once in the morning, okay, translation problem, right? I mean, it's obvious, right? But here, it means if you forget to practice awareness or contemplating death or impermanence, it's not that every session you have to die a little bit. If you forget to practice reflecting on death and impermanence once in the morning, during that day you will aim only at this life, which is to say, then you forget, then you keep investing in only here and now. In other words, you do things with a very short frame of reference. You think, I'm just going to do what's going to deliver right now. So think about how, in maybe more new age circles, they're like, live in the present, It's true, but be careful that attitude doesn't turn into, you only do things for immediate gratification. And that if you cannot see the immediate gratification, you're like, I'm not interested. Yeah. Again, there's something to be said about, live in the present. Yes. But be careful that a mantra like live in the present don't turn into concern only about immediate gratification, whether it's spiritual gratification or, sensory gratification. It cannot be like this. Thus, Rinchen Changchup contends it is necessary to cultivate the thoughts of death and impermanence from the depths of one's heart, and then to contemplate karma, cause, result, the disadvantages of samsara, until one understands that all the higher and the lower realms of samsara are like a fire pit or a filthy hole. Then one continues the session by cultivating love, compassion, and the resolve for awakening and so forth. Yeah. So this too, like sometimes we think, oh, contemplate, that everything sucks, Then you do 4 sessions of that, everything sucks, Then at the end of the day, you feel like, God, this is awful. But it's not meant for you to go to bed and go, God, this is awful. Life sucks, No, you contemplate the reality of death, change, impermanence, uncertainty in order to encourage and spur you to practicing love and compassion and the resolve to wake up. You don't stop at, life sucks. This is like a shit hole. Basically, that's what it means, a filthy hole, like the hole that you dig, this toilet. So the point of like arriving at, oh, samsara is like a fire pit, or like a toilet hole. Oh, yuck. It's not for you to then stop there and say, oh, yuck. But it's that given that, what is meaningful to occupy our mind with? Fighting with others, arguing with others, having to be right. What's the point of being right in a fire pit? What's the point of, winning an argument when it's a filthy hole? Then you say, love and compassion is what I should cultivate. Then not only that, love and compassion, mundane way of loving and caring for people, once the circumstances are gone, then you cannot care for them anymore. Then you cannot, help them anymore. Then, it should be bodhicitta, it should be becoming Buddha. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. So in a way, I will say, Kyopo Rinpoche's style is not so much, if you take this to heart, it's not so much like, you just focus on one thing at one session. Now, just karma. Now, just samsara. But rather to touch each of them in order to spur you to give you the right motivation to go contemplate the next aspect, to cultivate the next quality, to cultivate the next quality. And so all of them are cultivated in one session, so to say. Again, without being too literal about it, you have a checkbox, check, done, check, done, check, done. Oh my God, only 3 minutes left. Quickly, check, 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 check. Don't do that. Then, having cultivated the resolve bodhicitta, the meditator practices selflessness, emptiness, according to how the sutras teach, or the stages of cultivation and completion in agreement with mantra, generation stage or completion stage, according to Vajrayana. In the Drigong lineage, owing to the example and teachings of Jigten Sumgen, the principal practice is that of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. This practice is the condensation of the teachings that Gampopa combined in the Dakpokagye transmission. So Gampopa is the originator of this fivefold path, this path of Mahamudra in 5 aspects. But the particular form of the fivefold path becomes visible, is clearly visible in the teachings of Pamudrupa. In fact, in one of Milarepa's songs, of his many songs, you can also find the seeds of the Fivefold Path. Gongchik Rinpoche recently taught that particular song. You can find it in there. The particular form of the Fivefold Path first becomes visible in the teachings of Pamudrupa. It appears in his collected works as a table with 7 columns and 6 rows. And so, very helpful. Sobish has provided us this table. And it comes from Pamudrupa. Columns 2 through 6 describe the practices of the Fivefold Path. Columns 1 and 7 are topical outlines. 1 and 7. 2 to 6 are the practices. According to Pamudrupa, the Fivefold Path consists of producing the resolve for awakening, practicing the tantric deity sadhana, guru yoga, mahamudra, and transferring merit. While all of these are commonly held to be independent practices, the intention of this teaching is that all 5 must be practiced together within each session. Such a way of practicing is not bound to a particular sadhana, a particular liturgy, but is a principle that can and should be applied to all practice sessions. As the present Dakpo Chenga Rinpoche has explained, when the practitioner trains, for example, in the sadhana of the deity Avalokiteshvara, after contemplating death and impermanence at the beginning of the session, he cultivates bodhicitta, then enters into the stage of cultivation or generation stage. An integral part of any generation stage is that the practitioner visualizes himself receiving the vase empowerment from the deities of the mandala before him. At the end of this process, water that is visualized as being poured over the recipient of the empowerment enters his body to purify it. It then overflows and forms a wheel of water on his crown. From this wheel arises the central deity of the mandala, in the case of Avalokiteshvara, Buddha Amitabha. And this central deity is to be perceived as identical with the Guru. According to the instructions on the Fivefold Path, this constitutes an abbreviated form of Guru Yoga. After all the elements of the generation stage have been practiced, comes the stage of completion. In its most essential form, this involves dissolving the visualization of the mandala and the deity and abiding in a state free of conceptions. So in the context of the Fivefold Path, then this is that element called Mahamudra, or the natural state, which is then followed by the final element of this path, namely the dedication of the merit of the practice. In this tradition, 2 elements are emphasized in the dedication of merit. Okay, we can pause here first. And so, although the Fivefold Path, the way it is done, because of the 3-year retreat program, the way it is done now is you finish 100,000 of this, then 100,000 of that. So first you finish the 100,000s of the foundational, the mundra. Then you do the first of the Fivefold Path, bodhicitta. Again, you do 100,000 recitation with prostration, another 100,000. Then you do 100,000 of deity practice, which is Jakasamvara. And then you do 100,000 of the 4 kayas Guru Yoga. Then you do a period of time, 6 months, 9 months, depending on the Guru, of meditating on the natural state Mahamudra. Then you do 100,000 dedications. Then they say, okay, now you have done the Fivefold Path. So this is, of course, a system that developed after Kyopa Rinpoche as a way to kind of provide individuals a similar experience, a similar container, right? To train groups of people. But you can see that the more important point of the Fivefold Path isn't necessarily about going through the 100,000s, but that every session of practice should have these 5 elements. Questions or comments? Any observations?
In the chart, it says the transference of merit instead of dedicating merit.
Same thing.
Yeah, it just makes me think that I don't understand what dedication really.
Just dedicate, you know. Just dedicate.
Yeah. Right.
Lord Jonathan,
Mm-hmm.
could you explain the table briefly, please?
Yeah, okay, sure. Let's look at the table. So the first column and the 7th column, yeah, so let's look at what he has to tell us here. So the first column and the 7th column are topical outlines. So outlines from Pamodrupa's text. Yeah. Then 2 to 6 are more directly related and matching the 5. So put aside the 1st and 7th and look at starting from 2. So generate the resolve for awakening. So that's the first of the 5 elements, right? And then go to the next column, the top. Perform the tantric deity practice, 2nd element. Practice Guru Yoga, the next element. Practice Mahamudra, yeah, and transfer merit. Yeah? So 5. Yeah? So these constitute the 5-fold path of Mahamudra. So this is like in Pamodrupa's text, yeah. If you read the Tibetan, it will start like this. It will start with, I pay homage to the precious Guru. First, generate the resolve for awakening. Then perform deity practice. Then practice Guru Yoga. Then practice natural state Mahamudra. Then transfer merit. And these constitute the 5-fold path of Mahamudra. In Pamodrupa's text, it would be like this. Then continue to the first column now, 2nd row. The text continues by saying, by inwardly practicing the 5-fold path, one gets to the heart of the 5 defilements. So this is, I believe in Pamodrupa's text, right? It's not drawn as a table. It's given just in words. So now these words are divided into a table. Yeah. So the text is, now continues to, now by practicing the fivefold path, you get to the heart of the five kleshas. Next column on the second line, the second row. By generating the resolve for Buddhahood, one gets to the heart of hatred, one of the five kleshas. And then to the next column on the second row. And by performing deity practice, one gets to the heart of desire, meaning gets to the heart of purifying desire. And by practicing Guru Yoga, one gets to the heart of purifying pride. By practicing Mahamudra, one gets to the heart of purifying ignorance. By transferring merit, one gets to the heart of purifying jealousy. Hence, the five defilements are liberated without them arising again. Now, third row, first column. And by practicing the fivefold path, the five types of evil demons are pacified. Therefore, by generating the resolve to be Buddha, the Gyalgun demons are pacified. And by performing deity practice, Senmo demons are pacified. By practicing Guru Yoga, Devaputra demons are pacified. By practicing Mahamudra, the Naga demons are pacified. By transferring merit, malevolent spirits, disdain, are pacified. And so the five families of demons are pacified without arising. So these demons, in Pamadrupa's time, people strongly have experiences of the interferences of these types of demons. So if we want to translate it to our context, then more broadly it's saying your practice, right, should have like fairly obvious signs of progress when you can overcome harm and obstacles. So maybe now you don't think in terms of demons, but you notice that harms and obstacles are being cleared. And that would be a marker of, okay, things are going well. First column, fourth row. By practicing the fivefold path, the five human types are subjugated. By generating the resolve, the hateful are subjugated. By practicing tantric deity sadhana, those full of desire are subjugated. By practicing Guru Yoga, the arrogant are subjugated. By practicing Mahamudra, the ignorant are subjugated. By transferring merit, the envious are subjugated. And in this way, the aims of the five human families are accomplished. And so here, Pamadrupa says, to the degree that you purify your anger, then less angry people will come and cause trouble. To the degree that you purify desire, then people with a lot of desires also turn up less. So in that way, you overcome or you have power over these human beings with a lot of afflictive emotions. And then back to first column, next row. The particular outcome achieved by practicing the fivefold path is that by generating the resolve, the purpose of others meaning your ability to benefit others becomes more and more effective and obvious. By practicing deity yoga, appearances are outshone, meaning our ordinary fixation and our ordinary enslavement to the way things, habitually appear to us, that is like the brightness of your deity experience, overshine, overwhelm, confuse appearances. And by practicing Guru Yoga, one becomes a Vidyadhara and is capable of blessing others. One becomes a knowledge holder. In other words, one becomes a guru and have the power to bless others. The power to bless others comes naturally. As in, people will somehow find that, when they ask you a question, when they ask you for advice, somehow it seems like whatever you say to them actually helps them. Actually, with or without, the teacher deliberately doing it. Sometimes we think, like if we have a dream of like His Holiness or something, we think, oh, His Holiness is sending me a message. Not like that. But yeah, a lot of people, I met people who, like one of the, in our trip to, in a program to Peru that I organized several years ago for His Holiness with other people on a pilgrimage, so to say, to Peru. There was a woman from Canada, Montreal, and she has no Drigong connections. In fact, she's Kamakagya. She said, but she had a dream where His Holiness appeared and say, I'll see you. Then she went online looking, and found randomly on Facebook, saying, oh, there's this tour to Peru with His Holiness, and she signed up and she went. By practicing Mahamudra, one is free from samsara. By transferring merit, the root of merit does not go astray. Meaning, our merit is not squandered away, dedicated to ridiculous things. The 5 abilities of the fivefold path ripen. Then the final row, first column, by practicing the fivefold path, the 5 wisdoms, gnosis, arise in us, in the mental continuum. By generating the resolve, the mirror-like gnosis arises. By practicing deity, discriminative wisdom of discernment arises. By practicing Guru Yoga, the wisdom of sameness arises. So the beginning of practicing Guru Yoga is not same. Guru awake, me confused. But the result of practicing Guru Yoga is more and more same. Then not only same between you and Guru, but you, Guru, sentient beings, Buddhists, all same. A footnote here, when Buddhist texts and Buddhist tradition talks about same, it's a little different from how Hindus talk about same, right? Or some Hindus. Some Hindus, when they talk about same, they mean same. Like you lose your, and you completely become one. Like a cosmic soup, Cosmic soup that undergoes a blender, not just soup, So if you're a carrot thrown into that soup, if you are a broccoli thrown into the soup, all blended and become this cosmic soup. In Buddhist, when it says same, tends not to talk about that. Same as in with the same qualities, with the same nature, same. Then by practicing Mahamudra, the wisdom of the Dharmadhatu arises. By transferring merit, all accomplishing gnosis arises. And so here, so you can see, like this dedicating merit, which Sobish translates as transfer, this dedicating merit, or transferring of merit, it's also related to how you can accomplish your goals, your purposes. If you don't transfer merit, if you don't dedicate merit properly, it's hard to achieve your goals. Likewise, the equality, the sameness, right, of all beings is hard to really appreciate or have that insight if you don't practice Guru Yoga. So now it also right, teaches us something about Guru Yoga. I think unfortunately, a lot of us practice Guru Yoga in a very skewed way. So one way is, Guru Yoga means my guru is better than your guru. How does that achieve the wisdom of sameness? Then Guru Yoga becomes a seed for turning things into more differentiating, more high and low. And some people practice Guru Yoga and let this gap becoming even bigger and bigger. My guru is so great, so great, so great. I'm so useless, useless, useless. So the more you practice Guru Yoga, the more distant the gap. See, the problem is this gap that we go around. What is the gap ultimately? The gap between our day-to-day experience and our innate nature. We have this gap. Why do we practice Guru Yoga? To close this gap. But if you practice Guru Yoga to become more and more like, oh, I'm so useless, oh, I'm so, then your practice of Guru Yoga is not achieving the intended result, which elsewhere, right, in the text that I shared, 158, yeah, if you do not supplicate, if you do not make the supplications, your practice of insight will be just so-so, right? In that text, it says, in that teaching, Khyalpa Rinpoche says, if you don't, strive to understand your mind, right, then your practice of Guru Yoga cannot reach its heights, its highest level, which is to preserve the Guru to its limits. And then elsewhere we learn, what are those limits? Realizing, seeing Guru as Dharmakaya. And if Guru is Dharmakaya, then Guru is everything, and then everything is Guru. That's sameness, the same nature. So we train with using the human guru as the reference point. So if we honor the human guru, we want to do things to support the human guru. We want to be respectful and appreciate it and have gratitude to the human guru. If it stops there, or worse, if all of that is done at the cost of everybody else who is not guru, so my guru is the most important. So kind of this image of like shoving everyone aside, so that your guru can come down like a king, which often happens, then that's not Guru Yoga. Yeah. The mirror-like wisdom related to the resolve of achieving Buddha for the sake of others, right? So there's again a connection. So to be mirror-like, right? So what is the quality of mirror-like? The quality of mirror-like is there are at least two that we should kind of recognize. One quality of mirror-like is how the mirror reflects the object without any error. So whatever object you put in front of the mirror, the mirror reflects without error. Second quality is no matter how long the object is placed in front of the mirror and how vividly the image of that object is therefore reflected onto the mirror, the moment that object is removed, right, from the range of the mirror, the object that had been reflected or the image that has been reflected on the mirror also disappears. So the second quality is related to no attachment, right? No entanglements, right? No matter how long the image has been on that mirror, it doesn't actually, right, get like burnt into the mirror. Yeah? The minute the object that is the cause of the reflection, that is the basis for the image to appear on the surface of the mirror, the minute the object is gone, the image is also gone. So no fixation, right? But if the object is there, the mirror clearly register the image. And that's talking about synchronicity or resonance. So now it's giving us a little bit more understanding of what love and compassion, which is the root of bodhicitta, what love and compassion, what kind of love and compassion are we talking about here? It's mirror-like. It meets people wherever they are without judgment, like a mirror. Because there is resonance, there's synchronicity. But there is no attachment, there's no fixation. That kind of love and compassion. Yeah, so this table is really, when you look at it again and again, you can look at all the ways that they line up, you know. It's an amazing kind of table here. Yeah. Probably for us, the hardest to kind of make a clear understanding or connection are the demons. Because in part, these are Tibetan categories of demons that we are unfamiliar, with the behavior of, Gyaogong demons or Senmo demons or Naga demons, so we don't know how to make the connection, We need someone who knows Tibetan demonology, the categories of demons and how they behave, to unpack the meaning of the demons. And
if they're all pacified, it doesn't matter.
Well, in that sense, yes, but then you want to recognize, like how does, right, bodhicitta pacify the particular behavior of Gyaogong demons or Senmo demons or Devaputra demons, Because in the end, right, these demons are talking about our kleshas. So if we can recognize those kleshas and know that, for example, when we are doing deity yoga in particular, is to, so there is a connection, therefore, of the Senmo demons with desire or lust, and also with appearances, and also with discriminative wisdom. Yeah, so today we're going to just to go a little bit more on 204, Sobich talks about the dedication of merit or the transfer of merit. In this tradition, two elements are emphasized in the transfer of merit. The first is that the notions of the agent, the practitioner, the object, all sentient beings, and the action of transferring, these three components or these three spheres are to be canceled out. Canceled out means not that you throw them away, but you should not fixate on these three as separated, but realize that these three arises simultaneously, independence on each other, right? I mean, if there's there, normally we think, okay, there's a gift and there's a giver, and that there may or may not be a receiver. But here is really pointing out, how can something be called a gift if the recipient of the gift doesn't exist? Then it's not a gift. That it becomes a gift is only when, right, the giver is there, then the object given is there, right? And then so like the act of giving is there, right? The giver is there and the receiver is there. Then these three interdependently arise, right? So to be able to see that, to understand that, that's one aspect. The second is that the merit one transfers includes the virtue that is primordially existence, that is the Buddha nature of all beings. This note, in some ways, it's kind of random, I think, in the context of here. It's like maybe it should be a footnote. It's like, okay, why suddenly focus on this transfer of merit without elaborating? Anyway, in this manner, any practice becomes the fivefold path and covers the entire field of practice, from turning away from samsara by contemplating death and so forth, up to the realization of Mahamudra and the subsequent benefiting of sentient beings by the transfer of merit. Furthermore, the fivefold path and the chapters of Gongchik are also correlated. So in the Dorshema, it lines up, the different chapters with the fivefold path. It says the fourth chapter is about bodhicitta, fifth chapter is about deity yoga, 6th chapter is about Guru Yoga. The 2nd chapter, this chapter is about Mahamudra. Then the 7th chapter is about dedication. Then, in addition, the 3rd chapter on Vinaya in general teaches in general the removal of impediments and the enhancement of realization. The same function is also performed by the practices of bodhicitta and deity yoga. So the 3rd chapter. But we don't know what chapter 1 is. Here, I think it's an example of, commentaries trying very hard to relate everything to everything. In my opinion, sometimes more successful than other times. There are 7 chapters in the Gongchik. Here, chapter 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 7. Chapter 1, we don't know. The Dorshema mentions that these ways of practicing came to Tibet with Atisha. But Choki Drakpa rejects this view, saying that this is the intention of all practice methods of Kagyu, meaning Marpa and Ngo. Here I feel that Chodra, right, between Choki Drakpa's time, which is 17th century, and the Dorshema, which is like 13th century, between 13th and 17th century, sectarian identity has become very strong. So that there are people who make exclusive claims on Atisha and say, we are Kadampas. Or actually at Choki Drakpa's time, the Gelugpas have almost exclusive claims on the Kadampas. Because the Gelugpa says, we are the revived Kadampas, sometimes called New Kadampa. Now, today there is a Buddhist group called New Kadampa. They are using this ancient name because they have a fight with the main Gelugpas. They are Gelugpas who have branched out, and somewhat controversial, but we need not get into that. I'm just saying there's a contemporary group calling themselves New Kadampa. They didn't make up this name. In fact, Tsongkhapa called his tradition New Kadampa, new in the sense of revived Kadampa. So Choki Drakpa's time is the time of the 5th Dalai Lama. So Choki Drakpa knows, that in the Dorshema, it says, this is the style of Atisha, right? But by the time of Choki Drakpa, to say this is the style of Atisha sounds like it's saying, oh, this is what the Gelugpas, that we got it from the Gelugpas. And so here, he wants to say, no, we got it from Marpa. We didn't get it from Atisha. So this is Chodra having to do some, I guess, turf protection. Yeah. But for me, it's very telling when the Dorshema says, this way of emphasis, this way of practicing came from Atisha. At the time of the 13th century, sectarian lines are not so clearly drawn. Everybody was learning from everybody. Everybody was receiving transmission from everybody, basically. And for me, what Dorshema is showing is also that how Gampopa's way of Kagyu, Dakpo Kagyu, is really a combination of Milarepa's Mahamudra and Atisha's bodhicitta. It's not like Milarepa did not have bodhicitta teachings. It's not that Atisha did not have Mahamudra teachings. But the specialty of Milarepa's way of teaching Mahamudra, the specialty of Milarepa's way of helping students realize Mahamudra, and the special way in which Atisha and Atisha's successor center stage bodhicitta, these two aspects is the unique style of Gampopa's Kagyu. And Jigten Sumgön is a successor to this kind of emphasis. So we will see, again and again in the translations that we have been sponsoring, this theme coming back again and again and again. Mahamudra, meaning nature of mind. Yeah? So a lot of emphasis on look at the nature of your mind, look at how your mind works, learn about how the mind is, and free yourself from all the entanglements. On the other hand, bodhicitta, bodhicitta, bodhicitta. So the particular way in which these two come together is, is a blending of styles that originated with Gampopa. Good? Yeah, good. So you all should rely on each other. It's good, every one of you, to at least know one other person in this group. So it's in a way kind of selfishly. If you can or cannot see something, do something, because of technology, reach out to the other person and say, hey, did you get that? Did you not get that? Then my life becomes slightly easier, because otherwise I get a lot of questions. I'm constantly, even though when I'm teaching, I'm doing what I should not be doing. But even when I'm teaching, I'm answering questions from different people. And because if I don't immediately answer it, then it piles up, then there's no way of answering. But the more you all can help each other out, and the more you can help me just focus more on what I should be doing when I'm doing. I can tell you, I was also answering questions about what bed to get Kenjan Rinpoche, because Kenjan Rinpoche is now coming back on October 5th. So while all of this is going on, I'm researching beds, because already 2 beds have been bought and it doesn't work. Rinpoche's sleep is very sensitive. And each time he communicates, this type or that type, we don't quite get it right, but his sleep is very delicate. And though, again, if I don't immediately answer that, then it piles up, then I have no way to, they have a way of, magnifying all these things. So, iMessage, WeChat, just right now, ding, 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 ding. So, yeah, so this is good. We have a Sangha, we have a group, we have, we can, you can always ask, like, don't feel like I get offended. No, I don't. You can always ask, but also don't get offended if I say, why don't you check with this person or that person, because I have to delegate. A lot of urban dharma, I have to delegate. I said to urban dharma, I already do what I can for you guys, as in, I'm not on your payroll deliberately because I feel better when I say, no, I cannot do this, or no, I cannot do that, because I am also a volunteer, so that we can all volunteer and make it happen. So with urban dharma, I'm constantly, delegating, because understandably, I'm the public face of urban dharma. So whatever happens, from the kitchen being flooded to how do I get enlightened, it comes to me. But if I don't delegate, I simply, I am no emanation of any Buddha, no ability to handle all of it. Yeah. But many of you are helping, in supporting all the questions that come my way. And so I'm grateful for that. And again, it's so thank you so much. And we will meet on Wednesday and on Friday. So we're more or less back to Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. All the Thursday retreats, now they are done for a while. So we'll see you on Wednesday.
Gracias.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, Dr. Lai.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Gracias, Juan.